What's the etiquette for audience members who get picked on? Was I rude? Question mark.
To me, it doesn't seem like edgelord comedy, but it seems
It does when he keeps going. So there could have been a way to spin that.
Yeah.
If you're a good comic,
Yeah.
you suck as a comic, in my opinion.
The first two guys were doing crowd work, which to me sounds like they're recording it for the algorithm.
Great observation by someone who clearly is a fan of going to comedy shows. Doubling back to a new segment we started last week, this season of the podcast, season 6, Black Zeus the podcast, a new segment called In These Comedy Skreets. Dante and myself will be scrolling through the internet, finding random comedians, people talking comedy or whatever. We find the most interesting question or comment or subject, and we're gonna discuss it and maybe do what we did last week, which is respond and leave a comment in like a reply. But this week we went back to Reddit because we went to log into X and neither of us remember our password. So we're back on the Reddit r/standup for a new question. We just started reading like the first paragraph and it gets good.
So save it for the podcast.
Yeah, we said save it for the podcast. So the question is, what's the etiquette for audience members who get picked on? Was I rude? Question mark. And it was posted by Redditor ResiStick. I said that right?
Yeah.
ResiStick. All right. Last night, my girlfriend and I went to a comedy show at the hotel we're staying at on vacation. There were 4 acts and they were pretty good. But the first 2 acts kept referencing or asking the audience questions like, where are you from? How long have you been together? Etc. It started out all in good fun, but the second act like honed in on me and started calling me baldy and tried to turn the fact that I'm bald into what seemed like his entire main act. I lost my hair when I had cancer. I'm not laughing at that, but like just a misdirect there. Who wrote this question? Anthony Jeselnik? I lost my hair when I had cancer. It sounds like you recovered, so I'm happy to hear that. And went through chemo. Sure, I also was predisposed to it, but the main reason I lost it so young was the whole chemo thing. So I simply said, chemo took it, hoping he'd move on to his actual jokes. He told me I didn't have to make it awkward and kept going on still. And finally I said, please move along. This seemed to really upset him, and he said a few things that were basically how I was rude and not fun. I don't know. It hasn't sat right with me, and I'm curious. Was I out of line? I know sometimes comedians try to pull from the audience, but I felt I really wasn't trying to make myself a target, and I would have been fine if he moved on a little bit sooner, but the way he acted offended that I asked him to please move along isn't sitting right with me. Was I in the wrong? Great question. Upvote that. That deserves. Oh, I'm not logged in. Well, sorry. I'll go back and so we can't comment.
No, you gotta be logged in.
But
we can comment on it here.
Yeah, and then I'll post it.
Well, you can't post links here because they'll probably be like, stop trying to self-promote. If you post links, maybe we could try.
If we post the response in here,
if you comment it,
hey, we talked. Anyways,
yeah.
Let's actually respond to the thing.
Yes.
My personal feelings toward this, I need to know how new the comic is because it sounds like the comic is like within first 5 years.
Yeah. Because
that's like some. And what type of comedy? Is this some edgelord freaking comedian who's just trying to be like, no, I'm gonna.
To me, it doesn't seem like edgelord comedy, but it seems
it does when he keeps going. It doesn't if he stops.
No. My point is like, because he said both of them were basically doing crowd work.
No. He said all of them were.
No, he said the first 2.
But the first 2 made it mostly a crowd work thing.
That's what I said.
But it's like, crowd work is crowd work. But like when you hear somebody from the audience say, I got this from cancer, unless you got something really good, bro. Unless you got a banger cancer bit that you know.
Yeah, you need something deadly.
I apologize, sir. No, like what would have made this guy in the wrong, the audience member, is if like there's nothing that he did that was wrong.
No.
I wasn't there, so I can't 100% say, but based on how this is reading.
Yeah.
If it was something as simple as I got this from cancer, keep it moving after he was still going, you did nothing wrong. There's comics hate it when the audience starts talking. Obviously, we don't want you to friggin' interject. But when we start talking to you, it kind of frees you up to at least get a rebuttal in. You know, the comic's leaving themselves open.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like a weak comic.
Yeah, because why are you mad?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You sound like a bitch. And I don't know, like, sure, there are funny cancer jokes, absolutely. And it's nice to see that the guy's a survivor. So there could have been a way to spin that.
Yeah.
If you're a good comic,
Yeah.
you suck as a comic, in my opinion, if the first place you go is, well, the chemo didn't do you're bald. Like,
yeah.
what a jackass, bro. Like, it just sounds like a hack to me. But he also did say the comic was kind of doing all right. But then he turned the whole rest of the act into bald jokes about a cancer survivor. Again, not saying that cancer survivor jokes don't exist or they can't be funny, but how this was set up and delivered, guy sounds like a hack.
Yeah.
I would love to know, how would you handle a situation like that?
If
Because you're not even 5 years in.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm going in on a bald guy that he's like, oh, chemo took it. I my bad. Next, I would have moved on because I know someone in my family that had cancer and they lost their hair.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So it would have struck a chord or hit a trigger. Yeah,
not even that, but I'm like, all right, respect, because that family member's still alive. He's still alive, so I'm like, you know,
I can't assume that whoever cancer is widespread, so I can't assume that the comic doesn't also have somebody in his family. Maybe he's also in that boat.
Maybe,
like, to play devil's advocate for a moment. I still think the comic's a hack.
Yeah,
but there's a chance that maybe he had someone in his family who also had cancer. So in his mind, he's like, this isn't that serious. Like, he's already been through it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but
to make light of it,
you know it's serious.
You know it's serious. I can't really jump into this person's mind.
What I would have done, I would have been like, my bad. You know, I would have moved on. I
definitely would have moved on, but my brain. I don't know what I would have said.
I don't have the improv skills. Yeah,
so I was just gonna. So I have the riff skills, at least for me, for my voice.
Yes,
that I know my brain would have definitely thought of something in the moment.
I would have said, I don't have any more material like the top of your head.
I don't know, like maybe like a Kanye, like gotcha. Like I just know I would have dealt with it for a second there, and then bounce.
Bounce.
But to make it the whole rest of your act, no, sir, you were not in the wrong.
Also, do you think he made it the whole rest of his act after he told him to stop?
Scroll back up. He told me I didn't have to make it awkward and kept going on still. And finally, I said, please move along. This seemed to really upset him. And he said a few things that were basically how I was rude and not fun. So it sounded like he continued. I don't know how long the set was either. There's 4 comics at a club. So chances are host, middle, headliner, guest.
He had 10, 15-ish.
It doesn't say how long. So I don't know. But it just doesn't sound like it was dealt with by a professional comedian.
Yes.
Or a good one, at least. Let's just say that. Yeah. Turns out the comic was like...
Experience.
Turns out the comic is like a Netflix. Like,
it was just on the...
That's so funny. Yeah, but I do like this segment. This was a great question. It was posed great. Let's look at some of the responses. Hacks doing crowd work because social media algos said to do it. Bingo.
And that's the point that I was making about
this would be a great clip.
Exactly. Yeah. The first 2 guys were doing crowd work, which to me sounds like they're recording it for the algorithm.
Yes.
For social media.
Yeah, for social media. Yeah, but like there are crowd work comedians.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like I was just watching Big Jay Okerson yesterday. I was just watching some Jay Okerson footage.
Yes.
Because he just dropped a special, or I just saw a special of his that I hadn't seen. I started watching it, and I'm just mesmerized because this guy still to this day is like the most elite crowd work guy, and he doesn't do material. It's all crowd work.
But that's an experienced guy.
Oh, bro, Jay Okerson's like 40 years in the game.
Maybe.
Like,
how old is this guy?
No, he's old. Okay. Yeah, he's got like old kids and shit. Like Okerson's maybe not 40, but I feel like he's definitely like 25 plus.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like he didn't have any actual jokes. Sorry you had to deal with that. Essentially. Because this doesn't sound like the a type of thing where you're heckling or trying to make it about you. Scroll down. Okay, this one. If you said chemo took it and the best they could come up with was don't make it awkward, they're not cut out for crowd work. It's not on you. Yeah, it sounds like, is there anybody defending the guy? No, you're not in the wrong. Yeah, it's hard to see this one as this guy in the wrong. It's the worst comedian ever. Yeah, thank you. All right. What's the next? Anytime I go to a show, I make sure I stay out of the first 3 or 4 rows because I don't want the comic to talk to me. That is fair also. But sometimes if the back's full and you're being seated at a club, they're going to seat you where there's room. I went to a small show when I was a teenager and I had a mohawk. Every comic had to talk about it and all of their jokes were bad. Even the good comics. I realize now that if I don't want to be part of the show, I need to stay out of their eye line. Great observation by someone who clearly is a fan of going to comedy shows. Yeah, I think that's a. You see anything else that?
No, I think that's it.
Everybody's gonna say this guy's in the right. Yeah, nobody's gonna.
Everyone's saying unfunny.
Unfunny and hack. That's the appropriate terminology. Appropriate terminology. So yeah, that'll do it for this week's segment of In These Comedy Skreets. We have another one already on the channel. If you want, go check it out as a separate clip, or go check out that episode from last week.
Hey, it's Hen Dog.
Black Zeus the Podcast Season 6, featuring Black Zeus and Dante, aka Black Zeus on YouTube, Patreon, and Instagram.